You right, guys. So obviously today we're going to go through the building a footballer's mindset. Now, there's like a few takeaways from this. You know, there's so many different elements we can go into this, and to be fair, it could actually be broken down into various presentations. So what I've done today, I've literally broken it up into little segments and just like some clear getaways just for you to go away from today. Have a think about your approach of like how you're preparing yourself, what your training's like, reviewing yourself. So they're the main things you need to note down. Feel free to take like a picture, write stuff down of the slides as we go through. Right at the very end, we're going to do a Q&A, and on that Q&A, feel free to like ask questions in the box, and if I have to go back to certain slides, I can do that. And if you want to know anything about anything regarding a footballer's mindset, we can go on to that as well. Okay. So, as Ben was just saying there, yeah, I'm Academy Director of Next Generation Pro Football Academy. I've done um, this for on year 10 now, so it's been quite a while. Alongside that, I work with Chelsea Football Club within their post 16 education department, and we run a couple of different programs from there. And I've worked at a various level of like um, non-league
Ottimo.
clubs in the past. Yeah, just different clubs within a non-league pyramid. I've not really put loads of badges down here. I had some association this year with Cheshire United, which is a national South Side Step 2. But no, previously in terms of like academy football, in terms of coaching, I've been with Brentford, Crystal Palace, AFC Wimbledon, and in terms of like sports science support, I've been with like different clubs like Blackburn, Man United, QPR, and Man City in the past, from first team down to under 18s. So that's just a little bit about myself. Um, just as a bit of like an introduction to the mindset, I think we all have to like be realistic of, and you would have seen these stats up on the screen right now, I'm sure, um, of where everyone else is, where you currently are, everyone else, how in terms of how many people actually play the game of football across the globe, and you know the impact of what football has in a positive way of participation. Um, keeping everyone with good like mental strength in terms of like building upon that, helping out social skills, all them types of attributes. But if you look at the figures, if there's like 250 million players actively playing in over 200 countries, that's a lot. That's huge. Um, and if you look at in terms of paid players across the globe, there's approximately 130,000. So it's not a lot when you break it all down. It's not a lot at all. A lot of paid players, 130,000 compared to around 250 million participants. So that's why this type of presentation, in terms of building a mindset, building a structure within the mindset within which you should take obviously to your training, your games, is very important for everyone here who's looking to go into the next stage of professional football. Um, I know some of you do like IDP calls with me, and this is like one of the things we go through is like these certain like how to gain these like extra 1% to obviously build upon your plan to for you to progress within your football journey. The reason I put this on the plan is because I believe that I know you're all from different countries here, and this is based on England. Um, but one of the main things is it's all well and good having a good mindset within yourself. I think you need to try and find that within local players you're friends with who have got a similar mindset, maybe even better than yours, which you want to aspire to. But I also think you need to try and find coaches within that as well, and like clubs who have that sort of mindset to obviously elevate yourself for your own performance. Um, they done it in the Premier League in terms of years and years ago, where over 10 years ago now, where they brought in something called the Elite Player Performance Plan, which we call like the EPPP, and that was to basically boost, you know, the amount of like we want to create better players for the international team and do that throughout the entire football pyramid. And that integrated into the coaching, the structures of how academies are run. They're called category 1, 2, and 3. Um, and there was a certain amount of investment into that. Now, the reason I'm bringing this into the whole mindset is because this elevated and changed the mindset of coaches, bringing that obviously down into the players. So that's what I'm saying. No matter where you come from, it's always good to have or try and join a club where they might be a really good performing club, they might be a club on the rise, but playing for a club just with like some ambition and not just saying, yeah, we want to be at the best up here, but actually showing a structure and how they can do that within their different age groups and the type of caliber of coaches they take on. Um, so everyone will look at this on the screen and think, why has Lee put this on here? By getting the basics right. Um, in terms of a mindset becomes habit, okay, and certain habits, if you can create some of the habits based from this presentation, you know, this will add value into your own performances. So something I always say to my players, especially when they're like 16, because most of the players I have are up to 19 years old, bring 2 pairs of boots. The surface matters. So it doesn't matter if you're playing the game. Sometimes you don't know if you're in a away game playing on grass for EG. Bring 2 pairs of boots. We always must be thinking that. Have the correct clothing. Actually look like a footballer. Actually, when you walk into a room or dressing room and the coach sees you or the manager sees you, especially if it's a first time meet, perceive yourself. You must be perceived as a footballer. You must look like a footballer. Um, and I mean even doing little things, even when I've been in like professional clubs before, and I'm not going to mention the clubs just in case, but even as a coach, if you didn't do like your hair, if you didn't like look well groomed, all that type of stuff, in terms of your appearance and like wear clean clothes, make sure you're wearing the uniform of the club, all that type of stuff, you wouldn't have a job there. So appearance does matter in your clothing. Um, in training in games, I know there's some training like different clubs have different rules on this. Bring your shin pads, even if um, that club doesn't want you to doesn't want you to wear shin pads. Um, doesn't have like a massive buy-in on that, because some clubs you see, especially if it's new, they want you to wear shin pads. Some don't. My thing is just bring them just in case. Goalkeepers the same. Bring 2 pairs of gloves. Little basics like this do make a difference. And I know with goalkeepers, if there is any here, um, a lot of goalkeepers have training gloves and some people have match day gloves. So just make sure that's being kept to. The other thing is huge. Turn up before the meet time. I know with me, if you come on the meet time, you ain't training or playing. Different managers, coaches have like different like set rules on this. And I know if you ever go on like the train effective camps and stuff like that, where they give you a professional experience of what it's like to be a footballer within like a 2 or 3 week program, when we've been on them before. And if we see like late timekeeping for like the coach for on the pitch, all that type of stuff, all these types of discipline, you would know like the types of punishments of runs and sprints you get from it. So the main takeaway first of all, for you guys walking into a dressing room, even as a mindset, as a habit, is look like a footballer. It's the first stage. Going on to the next stage, you need to develop to win. I've been at trial days. There's a couple. I've got various stories on this, but even in the warm up, okay, you must be looking to be the best in the warm up, especially if you're at showcase games. And at your ages, you have loads of showcase games in all different countries. But I've seen some fantastic showcase games, but I've also seen good players in showcase games not be picked up because of some very basic standards. So I've been part of showcases, one like a few years ago, one of the best goalkeepers I've seen in terms of like 16, 17 years old. outside a professional club at that time because he had been professional. Um, Went to a trial day. We had a showcase game, and there was all these different scouts. There was like 15 different pro club scouts, and there was one particular scout from Chelsea there to look at him. He walked out in the warm up, and that's why I put the warm up on one of these bullet points. Is because he didn't think he was acting in a professional manner. He didn't feel like he was taking the warm up serious enough compared to other players, and the warm up serious enough in terms of what a professional would do. So he called me literally after the showcase, just saying like he walked out because he had only gone down there to look at this goalkeeper, um, and that's huge. Goalkeeper didn't even know. Um, so that's why the importance of it doesn't matter when you're training, when you're playing games. There could be there's people watching. So your mindset is to be at the best of everything. So it doesn't matter if it's the warm up, a technical practice, like having the best um, inside foot pass, the best switch of play. Um, if you're a defender, best at heading, you want to be the best at everything you can do, and obviously being tactically aware. So within like game scenarios and stuff like that, and listening to the coach's instructions. Um, but no, in terms of your goal setting, as again, you're always going to push yourself forward. We speak about that shortly, but also your athlete condition. So take it within your pride to condition your body, your recovery, your nutrition. I know you've had presentations not just from me but other experts within the field with Train Effective in the last month or two. So please make sure you're taking all that on board, noting it all down. That's why it's so important to come onto these masterclasses, because there's so many different experts who can break this down into even further detail of what they specialize in. So, when you put it all together, all those little segments, it will make sense, and you will only develop and just gain the edge in terms of compared to other players who you're around. But everything we're doing always develop to win. So I know they always say sometimes on younger players, mainly in England, if I'm honest, um, they've taken some people of coaches have taken an element of winning sometimes out of the younger age groups. That's fine sometimes, but in terms of yourself, always have that drive to be the best. That's how you're only going to become better. So, just touching on what we were just saying, you need to focus on a variety of different skills depending on your position. Just make sure you're looking to be the best within that position. Um, don't just focus on the one thing, focus on a variety. Your weaker foot is also something you need to consider, and you've got to bring that into your training at least a couple of times a week outside of your team training. And then obviously when you're in the team training and opposed situations, always looking to enhance on that weaker foot at the same time. I think if you're a player who dominates, I want to put this in, yeah, if you dominate your age group in terms of um, your skill set, I think one of the best things you can do if you find practices a little bit easy, start to challenge that weaker foot. Um, Try and use it into the game scenarios as well, and believe me, you would see a different type of parts of your game where you can still find. I'm not going to say easy, but you need to develop to make it easy. And once you've developed it to a point to make it look better and feel easier, you can then improve it on in terms of speed of doing it, because that's another challenge on top. It's not just to make it look good just because you can do it one or two times, but how you can do it with the pace and with pressure as well. Um, so yeah, your technical development is huge in terms of what you need to bring to the table in terms of your mindset and how you're approaching it. So that's why repetition is always key. In terms of tactical understanding, as again, I know a lot of you at various age groups and be taught different things on a tactical perspective, especially as you're from all different countries. But the massive thing really is to study different trends of the game, where the trend is currently, and where the trend of the tactical understanding is moving forward. So, us as coaches, Um, we like to, not just develop players just for now. We like to develop players for the future. So it's not just where because some of you I know on this call are probably 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. It's not what you're looking like now, the end products when you're over 18, 19, 20. But how can you stay in the game at that age as well, at whatever level that looks like. But I think having, you know, multiple understanding of different formations, different positions, roles and responsibilities within different positions will also help you. Um, I think doing a lot of, if you go to a club that have, obviously they focus a lot on the technical part, but they also have a massive element in terms of uh, you know, like games for understanding. So you're part of like practices what are games based, working on the technical side, but also understanding the tactical elements of that small sided game, and you're not just playing a game for the just any reason to play a game. There's a purpose behind everything you do. So that's one massive thing for you to keep on. So progressing on to mental toughness. So this leads into so many different areas, but there's always going to be, there's always going to be pressures. There's always going to be setbacks and challenges within like your football journey. So it doesn't matter if it's training. It doesn't matter if it's uh, in a game. I've even seen pressures on some of your IDP calls, and I know some people are on this call of actual weather conditions because I know where some of the countries you come from and weather conditions can vary. So it obviously stops um, some of your actual like training for how you want it to be. But what's the difference? Are you going to then just like pie it off and not train at all? Or are you going to just adjust and do a different type of training to make sure you're doing something? Look, sometimes doing something you might be doing something different or not so good, but that's better than doing nothing at all. So always make sure you always have a backup, always be prepared for a backup because there's always them type of challenges around the corner. And don't make it a habit where you just have your missing days because for you guys to aspire and become professional footballers, you are going to have to play football every single day. You have to get through the mental toughness of injuries and how you recover by looking after your body in certain ways after training, after games, and even in terms of the injury, sometimes you might have to play for them. So that's all part of it. I've seen loads of players who end up getting injured, don't end up going to a level they could actually potentially play, just because they get injured all the time. And that can happen. But no, let's move on to the next bullet point in terms of pre-match visualization. This is huge. So there's there's a lot of emphasis on it, and it has been for a long time. Um, you just need to visualize. Say if I'm a centre midfielder, okay. Just give an example. So I'm a centre midfielder. In the lead up, my game's on a Saturday. In the lead up on the Monday or Tuesday, I reflected on my game, previous performance, but how do I visualize my training? How do I visualize my performance for the following game? Whether that's fixing mistakes, a goal I set in the past, um, something on your strengths which you want to do, but also possibly improving one of your improvements which you've noticed. So you visualize it, you go home, you think about it repetitively in your head. You will, you might even write it down. You might even just start thinking about it day by day. As soon as you go to bed, you're just thinking about it. When you wake up, have another little think about it. The same approach is when you're coming to a match day. Think about it the night before, the morning after, and pre-game as well. Now, as a centre midfielder, I might be thinking about um, my passing contribution in terms of forward passing. Can I receive on the back foot to play forward many times as I can? And the variety of passes from switching play, playing forward, setting up a goal for myself, setting up a goal for other people. That's my job as a centre midfielder, right? And out of possession, I'll be thinking about how I can um, break up play in the middle of the pitch, recovery runs, recovering teammates, keeping to whatever the tactical um, instruction is from your managers or coach in terms of like pressing the final third. So these are the stuff you're gonna have to visualize pre-match. Um, so when it comes into the match, hopefully some of it comes alive. Now, I don't know the exact um, how to explain this. I was reading something not so long ago. It was literally only the other week, and I can't tell you the exact story because I can't remember the whole thing because I was only skim reading it. But it was actually something on basically visualization, just in another way, and it was actually to do with piano players. So you had, say, I'm making this up by the way, it's around this number though. I think 1,000 people over a month's period playing the piano like 2 to 4 hours a day, and you had another lot of people, 1,000 people, visualizing to play the piano over a month as well as again visualizing it over 2 to 4 hours a day. So both lots of visualizing it. Um, After a month, they then come together, and the coaches noticed, piano coaches, they noticed that the people who had visualized playing a piano and not played a piano before were the same ability of the people who had been taught 2 to 4 hours a day playing a piano. Now imagine doing this in terms of your football. So, you know, um, you're going to be playing it because I know you train every day or most days. You're training it and you're visualizing it at the same time. You've got more chance of making it happen rather than not visualizing it at all. Okay. So I'm not going to stand here and say, um, visualize you winning the World Cup every single night. Look, it might happen. I don't know, but what I'm trying to say is we're going to break that down into a development type of construct in terms of think of the basics of what you're trying to do within your habits, visualize them as well. Okay, but no, in terms of like just moving on, just like just your general mental toughness, staying focused in matches, being positive. I know there's setbacks in games when you're losing, and people might be onto you and like arguments flare up. But just please remember, don't let them. Can you be a leader and not let the negative side influence you and try and turn negatives into positives, even in a negative situation? So please be that person. I'm not saying when you lose a game to like come off the pitch smiling. Um, I get, and you should be upset, but don't dwell on it in terms of a point of depression. You need to have an open mindset. What went right? What went wrong? Um, in fact, sometimes it's best to take the emotion out of it and actually review yourself the next day once you slept on it. It's not normally good to review performance for both, even like good performances. Like I've seen it before where I've had players who uh, we might win a game, say 3-0 or 4-0, and all they're thinking about, yet won the game and that's it. They don't review properly because there are certain elements in that game they can improve, even though they won. And that's not me being negative; it's just a development point. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about academy football here or senior football. It's all about getting better every single stage. So they're all happy for the next 24 hours because they've got 3 points, won the game 3-0. But deep down, um, you should always take in the highs, don't get me wrong, but as a footballer, but at the same time, think about your own personal development in terms of, what could I have done better? Like, yes, we won the game. Yes, I might have scored, but do you know what? Did I not get everything right? Because I know deep down you wouldn't have. Not even Messi and Ronaldo can do that. So, you know, think of those elements which didn't go so right. What would you do to fix it next time? And as again, start to visualize that going into the next game. How do you fix those types of mistakes? How do you work on visualize the strengths of the game and make them even better? So little things for you to think about. Now, in terms of like a mindset itself, you guys might have seen this iceberg effect quite a few times, I'm sure. But um, we make reference to this graphic a lot in terms of not just football, but in life, because football we can have like so much in terms of what's on here. But to be honest, this is not just like trying to make you just as a good footballer. It's trying to make you a good human in terms of where you're going to go for your next stage in life, whether football works or it doesn't. So you know, everyone just sees from our side, especially in the Premier League, or people with really high paid jobs in like massive positions in massive businesses, they only see the tip of that iceberg. They've never really seen the amount of sacrifice, the amount of rejection, um, the pressures, and it's like the risk of trying to get to the top. And when I mean risk, it could be sometimes it's financial risk, sometimes it's risk of time, sometimes it's risk of like relationships, sometimes it's risk of uh, like your people who are close to you. But no, they've not seen all these people who you normally see at the top. It's not normally come easy. Um, there's a lot of like tough graft to get there, but I think it's good for you guys to sort of see that. Um, so you know, you need to like on the way up, just seek that opportunity. Sometimes when you're playing against tough opposition, you need to see like when you are playing against tough opposition, you can get damaged as a team, sometimes as an individual. How does your mindset recover from that and move forward? They're the little things you need to think about. Um, basically what we said on the other slide. But no, you've got to literally focus on the positive mindset and handle these like types of pressures and setbacks, and how that incorporates you as an individual, but especially your team, especially when you get older. Uh, Within the football industry, it's like, especially at senior football, it's how you fit the dressing room, and sometimes you're judged on not just your football ability, but you're judged in terms of fitting in the dressing room. And I've had players even recently, like good players, go to club like them, they're like, "Oh, Lee, we're not taking him on because of whatever reason." And I have actually heard managers say to me, like, sometimes we like him as a player, but he doesn't quite fit the dressing room because of like his like mental attributes. Sometimes because they get too down when losing. Sometimes it could be um, they've got like no sort of communication or leadership skills within in the dressing room either. Don't join in, um, ask questions. Now I know some people are there who would be quiet, but sometimes like certain people can see that in a certain way. And yeah, you just got to make sure you're involved, you understand your role, even if you are quiet, still holding conversations with teammates, getting that social side, in, because it doesn't matter if you're on trial, in a team training, in a game. If you don't have a conversation with the person in the position next to you and the one in front of you, and sometimes the one behind you, you're never going to be able to work it anyway. So that's where the communication with the teamwork is, a massive priority. So you just got to make sure you collaborate with the team at all times, and you know that is a mindset. It's a it's a habit which you guys need, no matter what level you're playing, for you guys to get even higher. I know we touched on this at the beginning. Um, Physical condition is key within the mindset, and I think having good physical condition will enhance your mindset in terms of feeling positive. Um, you know, Getting through good physical condition will mean you're less likely to get injured. You'll be able to recover quicker. All these types of things. So it's always good to add in. It doesn't matter what age you are for this, by the way. Everyone just thinks I'm talking about powerlifts here, but there's certain movements you can do, because I know some of you are younger on this call. Um, Certain types of movement training you can do to obviously enhance your physical condition. Um, just focus on all the different areas. Don't focus on one. Sometimes it's actually better to focus on the ones which are suited to your position. So if you're a winger, speed and agility is great, with a little bit of endurance as well. So if you're a defender, you're going to be focused on more strength and power. I'd say power will come with speed as well with that, because of the way the game's going. But yeah, my thing for you guys, it doesn't matter if you can sign up for a gym, if you've got a gym at home, or if you know you can go. You've got a park to go down to do some like types of exercises. You've got to be going to do this on the side. Doing these extras will actually make you a better footballer, um, physically, and as again, I've had players with me who come in, good footballers, physically look sort of fit, but they've got no real condition. They're not actually conditioned in terms of like power, speed. They might be natural. Now that's okay to a certain age. When you come into like under 19s football or senior football, that sort of goes out the window. Um, you've got to be physically fit and conditioned to deal with all different types of scenarios because the game only gets stronger as you go throughout. So these are just little things you consider. Um, inconsistencies within your practice. You know, like the technical side, the physical side. What we went over. I'd even say in a bit of analysis in there if you can. Um, always seek for quality coaching. So try and find a club which have got good quality coaches. You can go and go to camps, all that type of stuff. Who've got good quality coaches where you can further get exposed to learning. Always join a club where you're playing regularly, just for for you to practice from all parts of the game. Really, I think there's one thing I've seen post pandemic from a few years ago is the level of players playing regularly in the clubs has actually gone down. Now that would probably naturally happen because a lot of clubs disbanded from COVID and stuff like that. I think where certain countries were not able to play, and obviously not happened in England. In over here, I've noticed a lot of less players actually playing in clubs. So when they're applying, some of them not even bad, but when they've not been playing regularly for a certain amount of time, it has affected their development in some way. Networking and exposure, just like attending trials and showcases, really. Get yourself on stuff like LinkedIn, get yourself known to like scouts and agents, send in videos, clip yourself, all that type of stuff is good. And, you know, in terms of yourself, just make sure you're educating in the professionalism of yourself. So, you know, try and educate yourself like you guys you already are. To be fair, you're with Train Effective. You've signed up for a Train Effective app. You've either gone to camps or you haven't. You might have done like IDP calls with myself and other coaches here, and you're on this masterclass. So just keep educating yourself, and that's where you're going to gain the extra parts of your performance. So I don't know who the next lot of presenters are, but my advice is to try and get onto those Train Effective the other presentations moving forwards because they will be the ones. There'll be one thing from some of those presentations which will add value, sorry, to your game, which will make the difference. So just closing it off before like questions. I know there's a little bit to go over there, but just remember closing the gap with elite players is a gradual process. It's not obviously not going to happen overnight, and this obviously is going to be a lot different from person to person. But look, as long as you like stay patient, and you'll continually to seek to improve and gain on the extra 1%, in each of these areas, you're always going to succeed, and you are going to move up your own football pyramid or to one abroad. So they're just massive elements to remember. Um, for you guys who don't know me, here's my social medias. Don't really have like a personal one. I'm not really on social media, so but these are the people I work with. So feel free to follow them. You'll sort of see what we do in terms of like our training and how we expose players and stuff like that. So it might be an interest to you. But no, guys. Apart from that, um, we're going to Q&A where I can answer some of the questions in the box, and I'll get through them. We've only got 15, 20 minutes. So yeah.
Perfect. Lee, thank you very much. Boys, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, or if you'd prefer to, you can unmute your mic. I'm just going to fire a few, or if we've got one from Daniel, but I'm going to fire a few questions after we go through Daniel's, and then that will give us some time to think and then ask any questions. So we've got one from Daniel. So what do you think is the difference between a pro mindset and an amateur one?
Oh, very good question. I know it's going to be good questions, but um, I, in previous experience, I would say, because I deal with both, by the way. So it's I'm trying to answer this in like the best way. Sometimes, with the generations currently, I would say it's the consistency of habits. So even what we went through in this presentation of even basic habits of like turning up on time, how you greet people, how you perceive yourself, is is massive. Like if I'll give an example from a college program going into like professional, I would say the differences are, the boys coming through at college who are good players, by the way. Some of the ones we have are very good, but um, some of the habits, nutrition, they're not consistent. They're not consistent with their recovery or conditioning methods. Um, they're not, when you're in a professional field, I know you've got like the certain staff members around you in terms of the sports science team, the coaching team itself. You've got like a nutritionist, psychologist, and all that type of stuff, which is brilliant. But not every pro club has that, and that's only the top ones. Um, so when it comes to the difference, sometimes it's not even just the clubs who have got all the money that put it onto their members of staff. I've seen it, the difference, even the boys going from our college to Cat 3 pro clubs. You look at the Cat 3 pro clubs, the mindset of their boys, you can see they're just a little bit more mature about also their performance. They don't take things as, this is a massive one, by the way. They don't take things for just enjoyment. They actually see it as a job. So the difference between enjoyment and a job is huge, because when you go into a professional setting, even when you come to a college setting, you don't enjoy every single day of playing football. You've got to respect the fact that you are and enjoy the moment, but it doesn't mean you're going to enjoy every single day, every single performance. And sometimes the pros, I notice they get that, they have that mindset and they can get over they're not going to enjoy everything. And you've got the amateurs where they get the ump if they don't enjoy something, so they want to move club, or they don't like a decision, so they want to move club. So um, that's what I'd sort of say is a difference in like mindset shift between amateur and pro.
Okay, love it. We've got a few more. Love it, boys. So we've got one from Maz. He said, "How to have a consistent mindset, like to train even if you are tired or unhappy, not just when you are motivated, because motivation is not permanent."
Yeah. So gonna bring it back to this slide. Um. So, oh, sorry guys. What I'm gonna do, if I find a slide on something like that, it might help guide towards the answer as well. So they're the hard times. I think sometimes when you find a consistency where that happens multiple times in like a week or a month, I think you then have to challenge the habits you've been doing. So you probably notice within those times where you are getting injured or you do feel tired and to train again, there's reasons for it. And it's most of the time down to your diet, your recovery strategies. You might have overloaded yourself. Um, all them things come into how you feel physically and mentally, and then they can basically decide certain decisions. And sometimes when that happens, it's more the negative rather than the positive. So yeah, you're better off trying to look into yourself and try and find the reasons within, because um, you know, you end up having self doubt in yourself otherwise. So you just make sure that you get those basics right, or adapt those habits slightly, then you should see better results. And sometimes I also think it's good to talk to your coach when you're having these moments. Um, I know different coaches and managers have different types of like open door policies, but it's you can't say it every 5 minutes to them without trying to fix it yourself first. And trying to my thing for anyone in football, especially as a mindset, I didn't actually mention this, is always try and come up with a solution. Everything you do, find a solution, and that will like give you the edge on your mental toughness, especially when things aren't working for you. Like this, what the type of mindset with this question, you have to find that solution, and those solutions normally come within your own habits of what you do yourself. I hope that answered it for you.
Excellent. And then we've got one from Abdul as well. We've got, I want to ask, how can I boost my motivation and get back in training or my mindset?
Um, so that's it. It sounds like I think the massive one, because I think there could be different factors to that. To be honest, um, I think in terms of getting back in, I think it doesn't matter whether it's. I don't know if you remember me saying I don't know, in earlier on in the presentation. It doesn't matter if something looks uh, good or bad. You just got to be doing it. So you need to get yourself into a club um, at a level which you find is challenging, and you know if you don't like it, first of all, going to a level where you feel comfortable before then arising to a challenge. Um, but you need to be doing something, because doing something is better than nothing at all. And try not to dwell on it. Try to get yourself in a position which you're going to feel uncomfortable to start with, and over time that'll become easier. That'll then elevate your confidence to then go and push on within your position, a higher status within the squad, move on a squad in terms of a different club for a different challenge, possibly if it's right. Um, but yeah, you just need to get yourself into the framework of trying to train every single day and create habits into every single day. Um, I'd even say into your school life as well, because I obviously know a lot of your age group will be still going to school. Um, what's your nutrition like at school? What's your are you playing football in the playground at school, which is a good thing, by the way. Um, all these little things are adding to like your football development, and even like your timekeeping for lessons, your engagement. I think you need to keep your mind completely focused on the school as well as the football outside of school. And I think as long as you're creating good habits like that, it's going to come natural within your life.
Another top answer. Thank you, Lee. We've got one from Daniel as well. So everybody says Ronaldo has the best mentality and mindset. What do you think it helped him to build it?
Yeah, 100% agree on that statement. In terms of, yeah, he's going to be one of the best out there. Um, I just want to say something on that. I've actually seen players who I reckon with the same type of mindset as Ronaldo, who are not professional and not even semi-professional. They didn't make it. So it's an interesting one because he's done that um, with with an ability at the same time. Where I've seen players maybe not so much with uh, the natural ability, but an unbelievable mindset. And one thing I would say is those people I've coached in the past with that have actually gone on to actually succeed in other jobs and still dip their hand into football later on in life. So um, it's a big question. He's very consistent of what he does, and he's always been known for it from a young age. And there's a reason why. it, he's been playing in all these different leagues, and let's be honest, dominating all these different leagues as well, and making him um, or either the world's best or on par with the world's best. Obviously, depending on everyone's opinions, but I think yeah, that consistency of every single day. That one thing I did mention. This is quite a few presentations ago. Is actually of the investment Ronaldo makes money wise into himself. He was have his own nutritionist. He has his own like physios, PTs. There is actually a figure how much he spends a year. But I know there's footballers out there who are spending over £1 million, £2 million a year. I know they're earning a lot of money, but they're investing within themselves, and that's creating better habits with the top experts in the world with a better mindset, and it gives them a better like physical condition so they stay in the game for a lot longer. And I think that's what you're seeing with Cristiano Ronaldo onto another level. Because there's you probably got you guys. Let's I can't remember how old Ronaldo is right now, but there's players who are also very good players from the past and present who retire before Ronaldo, and Ronaldo is still doing unbelievable. And that is actually down to his mindset in terms of what he's putting into his training, his own condition, just his self health every single day. And without that consistency, he would never have got to where he is now. It's impossible because we're talking about players who um, were world class players who couldn't last the type of levels of what Ronaldo has. So yeah, I hope that answers it for you. But that is a massive question.
Perfect. Thanks, Lee. And then we've got one more from Daniel. What should my mindset be? Because my parents aren't happy about me going pro. When I train hard, they say I'm overworking and say it's bad.
Um, so there's different answers to this, Daniel. So one thing is, I understand, and you can't go against your parents either. In terms of, I understand why they could have that opinion regarding um, getting into professional football, and one of the reasons being is because let's be honest, it's an unstable career. Okay, you've probably seen from the stats right at the very start. If you look at their numbers, Daniel, the likelihood of becoming a professional, it, you know, is obviously it takes so much work. Now, I don't want to kill it off, or by any means, definitely not. But the stats aren't very high at all. So, from a parent's perspective, they're looking at those stats and going, so if there's 250 million players in over 200 countries, and there's only around 130,000 players who are officially professional level who are getting paid. What does that look like? Because remember, not every country and not every league pay the big money. So, you know, out of those 130,000 players, I don't know what the number is, by the way, but obviously you're going to have a segment in the Premier League. Um, I've got a a player who's a championship player, for example, and he's a good championship player coming into me this week, and he is not bad for. He's come for a championship club, and he'll earn between £5,000 and £7,000 a week. This guy's been in the championship for 5, 6 years, scoring goals most weeks, and yeah, he's earning £5,000 to £6,000 a week at actually a good championship club. Then, on the other hand, you got a league above in the Premier League, and the club he's part of has been a Premier League club, um, who are paying on average 40 to 60 grand a week per player. And there's multiple players on 100, 200 to £300,000 a week. So, unless you're in that like type of club, it's hard to earn the massive money. And especially as the average footballer in the professional game only lasts 2.5 years. That's not on here. But your parents are probably looking at it thinking, God, that's really hard. Um, so they want you to have a more sustained, secure career. But there's not saying that you can't make it and you can't make it to the big time. But what it, you could do in England, we're very fortunate over here because we have our college process is where you can be a footballer, come on, it doesn't cost you nothing, doesn't cost you anything, might cost you a uniform, and you can play a good level of football with being exposed while getting an education behind you, like a good level of education for a plan B, in case you don't make it as a professional footballer. And a lot of these boys go on to, if they don't make it as a footballer, they go on to play semi-professional while being a personal trainer or a school teacher, or could be working in construction or engineering or architecture on the side. Um, they have secure jobs full time and they play semi professional part time. And some of these players part time earning money could literally be anything from £40 a week to £1,200 a week. Some probably earn more now, but yeah, the range in semi professional is massive. So I think you do have to think of a plan B for when you come out of football, regardless. So, say if he was to make it as a professional and he was earning £10,000 a week, I'm just putting a figure out there at random. What do you do after that 10 years? Because unless you invest your money well in the right areas, um, you're still going to be looking for work no matter what. I've got a meeting tomorrow, and I can't mention him, um, but an ex Chelsea player who, when I mean he doesn't have to worry about money. Um, yeah, it won't be. He's had a massive, massive career. Um, but on the other hand, guess what? He still wants to earn money and more money and be involved in football as a job because they still look for jobs even once they've retired as a footballer. And these are the ones who have made it to the big time. So, you still have to have an element of a plan B. So even if he was to get silly rich, they still look for a plan B because you're talking about high ambitious people, and they've created good habits from the past. And when they're retiring at like 35 to 40 years old, they're still looking at it and going, well, what can I do for the next 20, 30, 40 years? So, yeah, it's good to have a plan B. That's why your parents are skeptical about like the whole football becoming a professional. But I think you need to be good at both because I think you need to take your education into consideration and be good at your education as well as your football because a lot of the managers going forward are looking for good tactical players who can fit systems higher up the game. This is, and they expect a lot from you in terms of roles and responsibilities. And sometimes it's actually not based in terms of your actual natural ability or what you are there and then. It's actually what you like up here in terms of tactical, and some of it is information overload. And yeah, you you have to take on a lot of information and produce it. But yeah, I hope that answers that question for you.
Thanks, Lee. I think Geordie, if you want to unmute your mic, mate, you can fire in a question.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Um, yeah, I just wanted to ask, so can you share some of the mindfulness or meditations, like practices that you implement with the players you work with?
So the ones I work with, it's more on visualization. So that could be done. Even to be honest, we've even done it sometimes in like recovery sessions. So you'll be on a foam roller, um, doing like your recovery stretches on there, a bit of yoga, that type of stuff, and they're visualizing as well as doing the exercise. Um, so we've done it on recovery sessions. But as I said earlier in the presentation, a lot of it's done um, in the lead up to games in terms of visualization. So we're talking about of the week of the game leading up. and what that looks like personally for you. So yeah, it's heavily met on that. Then a lot of it is done on the night before and the morning of the game. So even in the dressing room, to be fair, you see a lot of players with like headphones in, but they're obviously listening to types of music they like, but they're probably visualizing at the same time of what they want to see. I know I used to do that as a player as well. But no, I hope that sort of answers your question. In terms of meditation techniques and stuff like that, I'll be honest with you, a lot of these pro clubs get like externals in who are experts on that side. I don't do that. I'm a coach.
If I may ask, are those like guided meditations or what are those?
Not too sure in terms of like if they're guided or anything like that. But all I know is that it, for me, when I've seen it, it looks like a little bit like hypnotherapy, where people are sitting there very quiet, relaxed, in a relaxed mindset, and they're listening to someone softly speak. Um, and sometimes when they're speaking, they're not actually speaking about actually football at all. It's actually something completely different. And sometimes it's actually done to music as well. So it's done to like certain sounds and tones and that type of stuff for relaxation.
Yes, I think someone else had another question in the chat. I don't know if you have to get to his or something, or if I can ask another one, or
It's up to you guys. As long as we've got time.
What we're gonna do, Geordie, is we're just gonna I think we'll go Daniel's question, and then after Daniel's question, we're gonna end it there just because we're running short for time. So I'll ask Daniel's question. Do you think talent is good enough? I have a player who is very talented, but he doesn't work hard, but he's very good. He isn't putting 100% in training. Do you think that talent is enough to make it pro or in an academy?
Um, so the the short answer is going to say I'm going to say he's not. There's a high chance he won't make it. He might be a good player, but there's a very high chance he won't make it because he hasn't got the correct mindset. And to have a career in football, you having the mindset is just one of the basics at the end of the day. Even going through this um, presentation, if he can't do, if he's got that type of mindset and he can't do any of these few things I've got on the screen right now, he ain't going to make it because there's so many players who will and who are doing that and currently in the pro game or just about to become in the pro game. And let's be honest, there's boys doing this with talent outside of the pro game. So, um, you know, to be honest, Daniel, he's not saying he hasn't got a chance, but the chance is going to be slimmer than someone who has got these types of attributes.
There we
All
are.
good.
There we've got it. So that's probably us done for today. Um, Lee, thank you very much for giving up some of your time and obviously sharing your expertise. Really appreciate it. I'm sure the boys do as well.
It's all
Um,
good.
Boys, well done for asking so many questions. If you have got any more, what you can do is just leave them in the group chat, and then I think Lee's in there. Or if he's not, then we'll get the answers across to you one way or the other. Once again, thank you, Lee. That's our masterclass done for today. I'm going to send the schedule out a little bit later for next week, so you'll have an idea of how next week's looking in terms of the masterclasses. So once again, thank you, Lee. Boys, well done for joining, and we'll catch up soon. All right, see you
Cheers,
later.
guys.
Bye bye.
Thank you.